Hey, what is up, everybody? What is up? What is up? Give me just 1 second, as is usual stream tradition. The first few moments, I'm just stumbling and goofing around, making sure that the live stream is actually up and running. Let me just double check here. Mandan, what's up, bro? On the inside, what's up? What is up, everybody? What is up? Are you guys all able to hear me clearly? Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me pretty well. What's good, Evil Gru? What's good? Ignorant Weed said, did you read the rest of Elbath already? I think I'm one chapter behind right now. Can you guys all hear me pretty good? Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. I believe that you guys all can. Yeah. Okay, sick. Okay, so what's up, everybody? It's Lilo. Today, we're going to do a live power scale and then like a debate portion talking about pre-time skip Luffy versus Meruem. Okay, so the way I have this formatted, I put together a slide that gives you guys a good understanding of the power scaling in the One Piece verse. Like pre-time skip power scaling, how strong are One Piece characters in general, how fast are One Piece characters in general. Then we're going to talk about like how does Luffy stack up in this verse. Then we're going to compare that to the Hunter x Hunter verse and see like how strong would Luffy be compared to Hunter x Hunter characters. Then we're going to talk about finally like how would Luffy do versus Meruem. So if you guys are asking questions like in the beginning portion where I'm just going over the power scaling, don't feel bad if I don't answer it right away. Because like once I get to the point where I explain like how Meruem versus Luffy would go, then I'm going to open it up for debate and like read all of your guys' questions, or at least a good majority of them. I also created a poll on this, so we'll look through some of those top comments too. So it's going to be pretty cool. Okay. So let's get into this. So first, let's just talk about how strong are some of the pre-time skip villains in the story of One Piece. So one of the first and honestly weakest villains that Luffy ever fights in the story of One Piece is this dude named Arlong. And Arlong is already extremely cracked. Like, just because he's weak compared to Luffy does not mean that he's a weak character. In the start of the series, we straight up see him pick an entire building up and throw it at other buildings, like flattening them like it's nothing. It's just a casual feat that he does, and that he has done like many times in the past as well. When the arc of Arlong Park starts up, the first thing that Usopp sees is a village where every single building was flipped upside down. And then it's stated that this was done by Arlong in a rampage. Okay. And when they see Arlong throwing this building, like trying to kill Usopp with it, they're like, bro, please do not destroy another village. So this was the like first village Arlong destroyed in a rampage, and now Arlong's pretty much doing the same thing again, or that's what his crew members are afraid he's going to do. So it's like even Arlong, like this fodder garbage level character, is a village level threat. Some would scale that to being like small town level, but we're not going to go too much in detail about using terms like that. I'm more just going to explain to you guys how powerful these guys are in verse, and then how the verses would roughly compare to each other for you to get an understanding. Okay. So like Arlong's already so cracked that like destroying or like just picking up and chucking multiple buildings is really no big deal to him at the very start of the series. And when he's part of that is because when he gets angry, he goes into a berserk mode. His eyes change, and it's implied that he's just like more ferocious and might even get like a small strength boost while he's in this enraged state. The crazy thing is, while he's in this enraged state, Luffy straight up overpowers him. There's this scene right here. It's the same enraged Arlong. This panel right here is like just a page or two after this one, where Arlong's crashing out doing crazy stuff like slicing this building in half. Not slicing the entire building, but he's just slicing his way up this building. A few pages later, Luffy gets angry as well and overpowers this enraged Arlong to the point where Arlong cannot even move this sword anymore just because Luffy's like grabbing it. Okay? Then this same Luffy, with one attack, destroys this entire building and knocks Arlong out at the exact same time. This is already some extremely crazy stuff, but Luffy has power scaling feats that go way beyond this as the series progresses. Okay, and I would say we'll get more into detail about this, but I would argue that Luffy, even as early as Arlong Park, he's already doing things that are relative to Uvogin. The character Uvogin in Hunter x Hunter, who has Big Bang Impact, we don't even know if Uvogin could destroy a building of this size with Big Bang Impact. He could likely like heavily damage it, but Luffy straight up splits the building in half with one kick and crumbles the whole thing. We don't know if Uvogin could do that. But I would argue that Luffy already, just the start of series Luffy, is already somewhat relative to Uvogin already in terms of just raw strength. But we'll talk about that more. That's just like an idea I want you guys to start thinking of. Okay, now the next thing to keep in mind is like how One Piece characters get stronger. One Piece characters work kind of like RPG characters do in video games. They get stronger from a few different things. One of the main ones in the early series is experience, or like facing near-death situations or strong opponents and just surviving them. This is stated by Zoro, where he said, as we've gone through each island, all of us have been slowly getting stronger, even if we haven't realized it. And some translations say like every island they visit, they get a little stronger. Some translations say like by traveling the seas and overcoming the harsh experiences of the seas, they get stronger. But pretty much every translation of this statement is relating it to experiences. It's like as they experience more challenges and overcome them on their journey, they're getting stronger. One Piece characters also get stronger through getting new gear. Similar to RPG characters, like Nami gets a lot stronger from Usopp giving him new weapons almost every arc, giving her new weapons almost every arc. And like a good example of like experience making them stronger is like one that I have here. It's on screen. Luffy one-shots Bellamy. This is after Luffy beats Crocodile. Luffy one-shots Bellamy, a pirate who had a bounty more than twice as large as Arlong's. His bounty was twice as large as Arlong's, and Luffy just one-shots him without taking damage. Meanwhile, his battle against Arlong was a mid-difficulty fight. I'm not automatically saying that Bellamy's stronger than Arlong, but they were definitely relative to one another, and Bellamy was deemed a more dangerous pirate. And I believe Bellamy had some Grand Line experience too, like was strong enough to live in the Grand Line a little bit. So, but yet Luffy just one-shots him like by the time he reaches the island of Jaya. And one of the things about One Piece being as long of a series as it is like the enemies are progressively getting stronger, and the Straw Hats are still just like adapting to them and beating them island after island anyway. Another example of like them getting stronger as the islands go on is back in Arlong Park, Nami couldn't even dream of like beating even a normal weak fishman in a fight. But by the time we reach Enies Lobby, Nami actually defeats a CP9 member on her own. So it's showing like even characters like Nami who barely fight are still getting a lot stronger as the arcs go on, let alone freaking Luffy, the captain of the crew, who continuously is fighting the strongest guy of every island. Okay, so here's just an example of some of Luffy's crazy strength feats that we see throughout early One Piece. This is during Enies Lobby. Luffy gets this giant like golden ball attached to his hand. Not only does he lift it over its head like it's no big deal, but he sprints up this beanstalk that extends almost all the way into the clouds. He sprints up to about the very top of it pretty quickly, and he's doing this while carrying this giant ball behind his back like it's no big deal. Now, this golden ball is bigger than Luffy is. You can see the size comparison. It's like a little bit taller than he is, and it's far wider than he is. This is the golden ball. This is Luffy in comparison. Luffy's 5'8". So, like, to get an approximate for how heavy it was, I like looked up like how heavy would a 5 foot by 5 foot golden cube weigh. This would be slightly less than this actual sphere because it's like a larger object, but this gives you a rough estimate. It's about 75 tons. And if you do 6 by 6 cube, it's 260,000 pounds, which is, I think, an additional 50 tons on top of this, roughly. Let me think, is that right? Yeah, I think it's about an additional 50 tons. So, like, it's somewhere in the range of 70 tons to about 120. It's somewhere in that range, 70 to 120 tons, somewhere in there. And Luffy's carrying this like it's nothing, sprinting up this freaking beanstalk all the way into the sky with one arm carrying this thing. And the reason I'm bringing this up is like it's starting to paint the picture that like Luffy can do crazy strength feats that like some of the stronger characters in Hunter x Hunter couldn't even dream of doing. Like we see Killua at the end of the Chimera Ant arc, like end of series Killua, he's able to open the testing gates up to the 5th gate, which is a total of 64 tons. So Killua, full strength, after all the Nen training he's been through, after all these arcs of fighting like side by side with Gon, all this crazy stuff Killua's done, he can still only open the 5th gate. He cannot open the 6th one. The 6th one weighs 120 tons. Killua, full strength pushing, cannot open that. Yet here Luffy is carrying something relative to that weight, just sprinting up a beanstalk like it's nothing. Not only that, Luffy can fight with this on his fist and swing it like it's not even there. So there's this scene where Anil, this man who's made of thunder, who honestly would wipe out most of the Hunter x Hunter verse, this dude is an absolute menace. He makes a country wiping thunderball. That's what he states it right here. He says, this thunderball is for me to destroy this country. Like that's what he made this for. It's a country wiping thunderball. And Luffy jumps into it. Like so, Anil, knowing that Luffy's immune to lightning, doesn't think he'll be able to do anything against this much power. Luffy jumps in there, swings this 70 to 120 ton ball so fast, so many times that he discharges all the electricity in this country wiping attack. Now, I'm not saying that what Luffy's doing is a country level feat, but I am saying that it's so insane that a man made of electricity who knows Luffy's made out of rubber did not think Luffy could do this, and Luffy does it anyway. Like it's a very wild thing he's doing. And he does it in a pretty quick time frame because like this scene, if you read it in the manga, it's like Anil realizes like, oh snap, like Luffy might actually dispel this thing. Let me drop it on the island before he dispels it. And then the next page, Luffy had already dispelled the entire thing. So like in a quick motion, like pretty quickly, Luffy's able to dispel this country wiping lightning ball. By swinging around something that weighs around 100 tons. Like, so like, he's cracked, okay? His strength feats are cracked. These are things like Gon and Killua could not do this. A lot of the strongest characters in Hunter x Hunter, even if they were made of rubber, could never do this. Like, his strength is nuts. And this is still just in Skypiea. And as we stated before, like, every island they go to, the characters are getting stronger and stronger. This is before Luffy even knows gears. Not only that, Luffy is still right after this, he's so strong and so fast that he's able to one-shot Anil in Anil's like transformed Gear 4 state. Luffy winds this back and hits him one time with it and knocks him out. Not only does he knock out this man who's literally made out of lightning, but Anil in his Gear 4 state says he's fast. It gets cracked by it. So it's like even with something weighing around 100 tons, weighing him down, his punches are still so fast that a man made of lightning says that it's fast. It might, like what I'm saying is even with 100-ton weight on his hand, Luffy might be faster than lightning, even that slowed down. Okay, and I'll go into more detail about how fast One Piece characters are. Hold up, I have it. How far do I have it? Should I talk about it now? Yeah, I'll just briefly mention this. Like, One Piece characters are way faster than like most people have ever thought or realized they were. Basically, like, the speed of lightning is fodder level stuff in One Piece. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We see even Nami, someone who's not a fighter at all, during during Skypiea, she can react to lightning like pretty casually, bro. Like, Anil shoots a lightning bolt at freaking Nami, and Nami just reflects it with a thunderbolt. Like, Nami can react to lightning, let alone someone like Luffy. Then more proof of like how fast One Piece characters are. This is their combat speed, by the way. Their travel speed is kind of slow. Like, they're not that fast in terms of like running, especially long distance, but when it comes to combat speed, like what they can react to, One Piece characters are super fast, even pre-time skip. So we're seeing like one of the weakest members on the crew is able to react to lightning. Then we see Zoro. This is Zoro in Thriller Bark. Okay, this is one arc after Enies Lobby. It's the arc immediately after Enies Lobby. Zoro, he's so injured. This is after Zoro had already fought Oars Jr. and fought Moria, and then took big damage from Kuma as well. Zoro is super damaged to the point where like just standing up is challenging for him. And he's about to fight in this injured state anyway because Zoro's just kind of built different. And Usopp's like, bro, you're too badly injured to even fight. Do not do this. Then Zoro dodges one attack from Kuma, and just dodging the attack, Zoro's exhausted. And like Usopp's like, see, bro, like, you're so beat up. He didn't even hit you and you're breathing hard. Like, this is Zoro in a near-death state. Okay? This near-death Zoro then continues fighting Kuma, and Kuma says, Kuma says, I have this attack. It's my air palm cannon. I shoot air palms at the speed of light. And then he proceeds to fire dozens of them, and this near-death Zoro just dodges them all. Okay? Let alone base form Luffy, who's stronger than Zoro is. And not, like, so it's like, all of this is to say, like, base form Luffy, especially by the time we reach Enies Lobby, he's definitely faster than this near-death Zoro who's dodging light speed attacks, dozens of them. So, like, even if you lowball Luffy massively, his base form is relative to the speed of light. Relative to the speed of freaking light. And then he has gear second and becomes many times faster and stronger than that, and we'll go in detail about what those multipliers are. Meanwhile, like, Hunter x Hunter characters, for the most part, they're topping out at the speed of lightning. Like, to put into perspective the difference, this is the speed of sound compared to the speed of lightning. The speed of lightning is 270 miles per hour. Okay, and it's like 300 times faster than sound. That's not really important. Just pay attention to the speed of lightning part. Speed of lightning, this is around where most of the top tiers in Hunter x Hunter have peaked at. It's about 270 miles per hour. The speed of light is 670 million miles per hour. It is 2,000 times faster than light. So what you're seeing here is Luffy and even near-death base form Zoro in pre-time skip. They're about 2,000 times faster than some of the fastest characters in Hunter x Hunter, like Meruem or Netero or Killua. So that should give you an idea of the speed difference. But next we're going to just talk about like the power level, the power of these One Piece characters. Before I continue like talking about like how strong One Piece characters are, is there anything you guys want me to like, any complaints with anything I said so far, or anything like you guys wanted to say really quick? I'm just looking through the comments before I continue on. Any questions on anything? I see Jotaro says hockey, right? So I'm not even including hockey in this one because we're only talking about pre-time skip Luffy. Any other questions, guys, before I go into like the power level portion? Ashura said, bro, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Killua is even lightning speed. Yeah, there's a real good chance he's not. There's a real good chance he's not, because it says like his reactions are well beyond the limits of his potential when he's in God speed. That does not guarantee he's actually the speed of lightning, especially when he has an attack. Like, his Godspeed, it's literally called Godspeed Lightning Speed. Then when he runs with it at full power, it's still calculated to be like less than 300 miles per hour. Like based off of the scene where he's straight up traveling like 10 kilometers, and based on the amount of time Subone says it's going to take for him to reach, it's like when you calculate it, he's only going like 280 miles per hour, something like that. Okay. Galgog said, why does Near Death Zoro speed blitz Hunter x Hunter verse? Bro, it's just because like Oda wrote One Piece characters extremely fast with reaction speed. That's legit like their best feat. But anyways, I will continue going. I don't see any questions. Crafted by God. Well, we'll get into that one in a little bit. Crafted by God. That's a good question. But we'll get into that pretty soon here. So let's talk about the power levels of these One Piece characters, because Oda actually had a segment where he gave power levels to characters, and then he stopped doing it. Like, he did it for one arc and then just stopped. But there's a few different things, like if you've read all of One Piece and like pay attention to parallels that Oda does, you get an understanding for like how, for a ballpark for around how strong characters are. Okay, so like remember this scene back here where they see Arlong flipped over all these houses. He flipped over an entire village worth of houses. Right after this, Johnny, where is that scene at? Yeah, so right after this, Johnny looks at this and he says, fishmen are strong. They have 10 times the strength of humans. Okay, so it's like based off this scene, it's like the average fishman is around 10 times as strong as a human, with Arlong being like the pinnacle fishman of the East Blue, basically. He's weak compared to top tier fishmen like Jinbei and Fisher Tiger, but in his own small little pond, Arlong was strong. So it's like Arlong roughly had around 10 times the strength of a human. Then several arcs later, this stuff right here happens around chapter 70. I think this is actually chapter 70 when Johnny says this. Then when they meet CP9, this is right at the end of Water 7. This is around 300 chapters later. They fought many different like strong opponents. They beaten Crocodile, they beat Anil, they beat Bellamy. They did a bunch of stuff. Okay, now the CP9 are the strongest people that Luffy have really faced. Well, technically Anil's stronger, but anyway, let me just say it like this. By the time they reach the CP9, they are just a crazy level of power. And Lucci says, like, one of the main reasons they are so strong is because of the 6 powers, which are like the abilities that the CP9 uses to fight, like their like sword-like kick, their ability to skywalk, their ability to like make their bodies like more durable. Those are called the 6 powers. And Lucci states, a master of the 6 powers is as strong as 100 men. Now, if you pay attention, they said that fishermen have the strength of 10 humans, while just mastering the 6 powers, you have the strength of 100 humans. So one narrative way, it's not an exact scale, but it gives you an idea of how much stronger the CP9 are. Like the weakest CP9 member, the weakest of them mastered the 6 powers. All of them, that's the bare minimum to become CP9. So one way you could scale it narratively is that the weakest CP9 member is about 10 times stronger than the average fishman. Or you could say like the weakest CP9 member is about 10 times stronger than Arlong. The same dude who was picking up houses and just throwing them like they were nothing. Okay, that's one way to narrative. That's one way to narratively scale it. I'm not saying that's exactly what Oda was going for, but it actually does fit the narrative pretty well. Then we get power levels that tell you exactly how strong the CP9 members are. So we see that like the weakest member here has a power level of 630, and the strongest one, Lucci, had a power level of 4,000. And to put in perspective like how cracked this really is, a Marine soldier in One Piece with a rifle has a power level of 10. Now, another thing, depending on what translation you read, this power level might not even include Lucci's Devil Fruit. With his Devil Fruit, Lucci might be even stronger than 4,000, which is implied by Jabra. Like, Jabra's power level is 20 points below Kaku's, and Jabra's like, hey bro, well I also have my Devil Fruit, so if we fought, I would still beat you. And that's just them having like a Zoro Sanji type moment. Basically, Lucci's power level is at the lowest 4,000. With his Devil Fruit, it might actually be higher. Something a lot of people don't realize is Lucci was so strong that there's a real possibility Lucci could have killed his entire squad if he wanted to. This is actually implied at the end of Enies Lobby, where he's fighting Luffy, and he's like, after I beat you, Luffy, I'm going to solo your whole crew, and I'm going to kill them all. And he's like, and he says this knowing that they beat his own crew. Like, Lucci knows that Zoro beat Kaku and that Sanji beat Jabra. He doesn't care. He's like, I will still go out there and solo them. So it's like, if you pay really close attention to narrative elements, it implies that Lucci's so strong he could solo his entire squad. But that's more up for debate. But basically, the big thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the power difference between Bluno and Lucci. Bluno has a power level of 820 and Lucci's is 4,000. That's about a 5 times difference. So Lucci is about 5 times stronger than Bluno, bare minimum, maybe more than that. Okay. And and then there's also this one statement where it says if you have, like, the moment you have all 6 powers, you already have a power level of 500. Meaning, like, even the weakest member, Khalifa, she had all the 6 powers and then went beyond that with her own training and stuff and reached 630. And then Lucci is just way beyond mastering the 6 powers. Like, if you just master the 6 powers, you have about a power level of 500. Lucci has a 4,000, just staggering way beyond that. Okay. Now we get to see how Luffy. This is Water 7 Luffy, by the way. Water 7 Luffy, far stronger than the Luffy who carried like a golden ball on his head and sprinted up a beanstalk. He's stronger than that Luffy. He's stronger than the Luffy that split a building with one kick. He's way stronger than that because he's been like to many different islands, faced many different people. This is Water 7 Luffy, and when he fights Bluno in Water 7, he cannot even damage him. Like, Bluno just takes his attacks and is not fazed by them at all. And not only that, but he's getting speed blitzed by Bluno too. Like, he says, like, Bluno's moving so fast, he thought he disappeared. And Bluno's like, no, I didn't disappear. I just moved faster than your eyes could see. Then we have Lucci in base form, literally little broing Luffy. Okay. Next, Luffy. Now, when we get to Enies Lobby, Luffy has become so much stronger by the time he reaches Enies Lobby that in base form, he's beating the brakes off of Bluno now, when before he couldn't even hurt him. Like, he goes from hitting him and Bluno feels nothing to Luffy getting so strong that his normal attacks are like severely damaging him. And Bluno's like, what the heck is going on? He wasn't this strong before. This is a crazy power increase. And it's getting to the point where Luffy's beating him just in base form. So here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize this, but Luffy, it's heavily implied that if Luffy had just kept fighting in base form, he was going to beat Bluno anyway. But he was in a hurry to get to Robin. That's why he went gear second. It wasn't really because he needed it. But like, if you lowball Luffy, you could say Luffy's base form is relative to Bluno, which, if you remember, Bluno had a power level of 820. So his base form was relative to 820, but when Luffy goes gear second, he becomes so strong that he defeats Lucci. So this is the reason I'm saying this, is because it's giving you a scale for how big of a power-up gear 2 actually is. If Luffy's base form is relative to Bluno, Luffy would be in this 800 range somewhere. But then when he goes gear second, he's above 4,000. So that's about a 5 times multiplier. Gear 2 is around a 5 times multiplier. That's one way you can scale it. That's one way you can scale it. Gear 2 makes Luffy about 5 times stronger and 5 times faster. Okay? And then Gear 3 is in the range of several, but more likely dozens of times stronger than Gear 2 is. The reason I'm saying Gear 3 is around dozens of times stronger than Gear 2 is because Lucci takes several to dozens of Gear 2 attacks and is able to continuously keep fighting. But he takes one Gear 3 punch and is nearly one-shot by it. Luffy literally nearly one-shot him with this. And this was Lucci, like, using his to Kai. This was Lucci using his like strong iron defense while in man beast form, like using one of his strongest defenses, and Luffy just cracked through it with one gear 3 punch. So, and he literally almost one-shot him. Okay. So this is starting to give you a scale for like how strong Luffy in Enies Lobby really is. He is an actual monster. And let's see. So I think now is a good time to start comparing Luffy to Hunter x Hunter characters. Just so that you guys can get an understanding of like how Luffy would do in the Hunter x Hunter verse just based off of stats. So as I was saying at the start of the video, Luffy, even back in Arlong Park, was relative to Uvogin in overall power, especially when he uses his stronger attacks like Gum Gum Axe, for example. In the manga, we get a more clear description of Uvogin's power. It states that his Big Bang Impact has the destructive force of a small missile. Okay, it has the destructive force of a small missile. We know that it's stronger than a bazooka, though, because he like catches a bazooka in his hand. Now, the other thing is like the anime Uvogin is a little stronger than the manga Uvogin. In the anime, this dude has an anti-tank bazooka rocket, or like an RPG, and he shoots Uvogin with it, and in the anime, Uvogin takes no damage. But in the manga, it hurts him a little bit. It hurts him a little bit. Like, he's like burned by it, and he's like, yo, that hurt. But then he goes and slaughters all these guys anyway, so it didn't really hurt him that bad. But then we see the Big Bang Impact, and in the manga, it's not as like insanely devastating as like the anime makes it look. It really does just look like a small missile explosion. So it's like, you guys tell me what you think. Do you think with this Big Bang Impact, Uvogin would crumble Arlong Park the way Luffy did? What do you guys think in the comments? If Uvogin hits Arlong Park with Big Bang Impact, would he just crumble the whole thing? Like, could Uvogin even beat Arlong? Let's really talk about that. Could Uvogin even beat Arlong? Because this is the same Arlong who is picking up buildings and straight chucking them. Like flipping entire villages over. Like, can Uvogin do this? What do you guys think? Let me, like, what are your guys' thoughts on it? Do you guys think Uvogin would beat Arlong? Can Uvogin do stuff like this? Can Uvogin just pick buildings up and flip them on their side? Can Uvogin just pick buildings up and throw them like they weigh nothing? Can Uvogin like destroy Arlong Park with one attack the way start of series Luffy did? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So it's like, let me know your guys' thoughts. But I say that Luffy is relative to Uvogin at the very start of the series. Okay? Then let's start scaling him to Netero now. Okay? So Netero he's an enhancer just like Uvogin is, but he's a tier above Uvogin as an enhancer. Like Uvogin's a genius tier enhancer, and Netero is the ultimate tier enhancer. There's been like some different debate on like what these tiers actually mean. Some people say like this is the Nen proficiency chart, so it's based on like your skill as a Nen user in your category. But I've seen some people say that this is like if you're an ultimate, some people say that means you've just reached the limit of your potential. So like an ultimate level Netero could be different than an ultimate level Uvogin. I've seen some people say that. So it's, oh, and another fun fact is Bisky's a ranked ultimate manipulator, by the way, which is pretty cracked. But yeah, I don't know. That there's a little bit debate there, but another thing we see is Netero in the data books. He's the only person who has like a perfect score in the data books. Even the Royal Guards don't have perfect scores. The only one who has a higher score than him is Meruem in the data books, and Meruem is off the charts. So like the max you can have in each category is 5, and Meruem has like more than 5 in each category. So it just like his pie chart is just a question mark, and it just says off the charts. But Netero's the only one who has a perfect score. Basically, the reason I'm saying this is to just point out that Netero is a stronger enhancer than Uvogin is. So we don't know the exact difference in power between Netero's Buddha hand slaps and Uvogin's Big Bang Impact. But my belief is that Netero's Buddha hand slap is at least slightly stronger than Uvogen's Big Bang Impact. And Netero can like spam it. He can do it thousands of times, right? What do you guys think about that, actually? Do you think, like, so imagine Netero has one Buddha hand slap. Like he summons his big Buddha hand statue. He does one slap with it. What do you think is stronger, that one Buddha hand slap or Uvogen's Big Bang Impact? What do you guys think about that in the chat? Because my stance on it, I think that Netero's Buddha hand slap is just a slight, well, it's at least a little bit stronger than Uvogen's Big Bang Impact. But it's debatable. Some people think Big Bang Impact is a little stronger than one Buddha hand slap. Some people think one Buddha hand slap's a little bit stronger than Big Bang Impact. So Decade says he thinks one slap's a little stronger. Galgok said not sure. So the fact that that's a debatable thing, it means they're somewhat relative. But what makes Netero way stronger is that he can spam that joint. Like, he can do it thousands of times. Meanwhile, Uvogen can't really do that. Okay? So all of this is to say, if Luffy at the start of the series is already relative to the Big Bang Impact from Uvogen, not even talking about his normal punches. I think in terms of normal punches, Luffy's actually a lot above Uvogen, but like he's relative to Uvogen's Big Bang Impact. Just back in Arlong Park, Luffy already is. If Luffy's already that powerful at the start of the series and he gets way stronger arc after arc after arc, by the time we reach Enies Lobby, I believe that's 8 arcs in the future, that's 300 chapters later, that base form Luffy is more relative to Netero's Buddha hand slaps in base form. What do you guys think about that? Because I would say the gap in power from Uvogen's Big Bang Impact compared to a single Netero Buddha hand slap is probably relative to the gap in power from start of series Arlong Park Luffy to Enies Lobby Luffy, who's so much stronger, like Bluno can't even recognize him. That would be the scale I'd say. I'd say that Luffy in base form is relative to Uvogen, and with his strongest attacks like Gum Gum Axe, he's relative to Uvogen's strongest attack, Big Bang Impact. Then by the time Luffy reaches Enies Lobby, I'd say Luffy's base form is relative in power to Netero's Buddha hand slap, something that's debatably slightly stronger than Uvogen's Big Bang Impact. That's my argument. I would say base Luffy's relative to Old Man Netero's Buddha hand slaps by the time he reaches Enies Lobby. Then, when Luffy goes Gear Second, he becomes 5 times stronger and 5 times faster than that. Okay, so here, like, let me just be very generous to the Hunter x Hunter characters and say it like as nicely as possible. Let's say that Luffy in Arlong Park base form is slightly weaker than Uvogen. Okay? Slightly. Even though I don't even think that's true, but we'll say that, okay? Let's say Luffy in Arlong Park is slightly weaker than Uvogen. Then, by the time we reach Enies Lobby, Luffy has evolved so many times that he can't even be compared to his Water 7 version of himself. This base form Luffy, who's so strong, he's freaking smacking Bluno around in base form. This Luffy right here, I'd say this one is relative in power, slightly weaker than Netero's Buddha hand slaps. This is me being very nice to Hunter x Hunter characters, by the way. Okay, so let's say that Luffy is slightly weaker than Netero's Buddha hand slaps by the time he's in Enies Lobby and doing all these crazy things, beating the brakes off Bluno even in base form. Then Luffy goes Gear Second, becomes 5 times stronger, 5 times faster than Old Man Netero. 5 times stronger than Old Man Netero. He's way faster. Okay, so let's put it like this. Prime Netero was stated to be a little bit more than twice as powerful as Old Man Netero. Okay? Prime Netero is twice as powerful as Old Man Netero. And what we just said is Gear 2 Luffy is 5 times stronger than Old Man Netero. So what does that mean? It means Gear 2 Luffy, even if you lowball him, is about twice as powerful as Prime Netero. He's about like Gear 2 Luffy, the one that beat the brakes off of Lucci. This maniac right here is about twice as strong as Prime Netero was. Okay? With his Gear 2. And then when he goes Gear 3, he's dozens of times stronger than that. I would say his Gear 3 is it's probably slightly weaker than Old Man Netero's Zero Hand. But the difference is Luffy can like spam these joints. Like when Luffy went into Gear 3 against Lucci, he threw about six punches. Like he did a giant pistol, then he did giant axe, then he did giant whip. I think he did at least 3. He might have done 4 because I think he also did giant balloon. But he did a spree of Gear 3 attacks. Now, so like you basically you got a guy who's about twice as strong as Prime Netero, and then his Gear 3 is like relative to Zero Hand, maybe a little weaker than Zero Hand, but he can do multiple of them. All right. And then the speed gap is absolutely insane, with base Luffy being the speed of light already, or relative to it. Then in Gear 5, he's 5 times faster than the speed of light, with characters like Netero and Meruem peaking at the speed of lightning. That's like really the highest you can highball them is speed of lightning. Like, I think that's an accurate assessment for their speed, because like, you have characters like Gon and Killua in their base form are about Mach 2 to Mach 7, based off of them being able to dodge sniper rifle bullets at point blank range. And that's like normal sniper rifles are in the range of Mach 2 to Mach 7, let alone Nen ones. Like dodging bullets and snipers is easy for Gon and Killua. And then you have characters like Netero who are like at the peak of the verse. And if you want to highball Killua and say Godspeed's the speed of lightning, characters like Netero and Meruem would be like slightly faster than that, or at least relative to that. So that's why you can say Netero and Meruem are about relative to lightning. Some people think they're slower than that, but being nice to them, I say they're relative to lightning. Okay. And like I said here, the difference between the speed of lightning and the speed of light is 2,000 times. So to put it into perspective, Luffy in his base form is 2,000 times faster than Netero. Like, base form Luffy, his reaction speed's 2,000 times faster than Netero. And we saw like Meruem versus Netero. Some people think like Meruem, the only reason he could even tag Netero in the first place was because of insane precognition. But like, that's just a lightning level fighter. Imagine fighting someone who's the speed of light, 2,000 times faster than Netero. Meruem literally can't touch Luffy. If Luffy just decides to stay in base form the whole fight, Meruem will never hit him. Then if Luffy goes Gear 2, he's now twice as strong as Prime Netero. And he's 5 times faster than this. He's now about 10,000 times faster than Netero. He's about 10,000 times faster than Netero, and he's twice as strong as Prime Netero, and every attack he's doing is landing. Meruem can't see him, can't predict him, doesn't even know what's going on. He's just getting blitzed, like non-stop blitzed. Then if he uses Gear 3 after that, he's hitting him with attacks that are relative to Zero Hand, and he can do like 4 to 5 of them back to back. So it's like pretty much, ask yourself this, like, do you think Meruem could survive having 2 Prime Neteros just wail on him until they get tired, then switch into Gear, then blast him with like 5 Zero Hands? Do you think Meruem could survive that? So, like, here's the answer. Like, here's my stance on how Luffy versus Meruem would actually go. Meruem, his only chance at victory is to just, like, hope that he's durable enough to survive this brutal onslaught, and hope that Luffy's stupid enough to use Gear 3, and then, like, if Meruem can manage to survive the entire gear, so here's what Meruem has to survive. He has to survive Luffy wailing on him brutally in base form until Luffy gets bored of that, then goes Gear 2nd, needs to survive getting wailed on in Gear 2nd until Luffy gets like frustrated, then survive getting wailed on in Gear 3rd until Gear 3rd runs out. If Meruem can survive all of that, then while Luffy's in his like small chibi form, Meruem might be able to kill him there. But even that's debatable because, like, we saw in the Luffy versus Lucci fight, like, Lucci tried to do that, but Lucci had taken so much damage from one Gear 3 punch that, like, it slowed him down enough for Luffy to just regen back. And then it's like, if Meruem doesn't kill him while he's in the chibi form, Luffy can just go through the whole gauntlet again. He can wail on him in base form for a while, then wail on him in Gear 2nd again, and then wail on him with a second round of Gear 3. Like, just crush him. So, but Meruem's one win condition is if he can survive the entire first onslaught and then kill Luffy while he's in his chibi form. And I'll tell you, it's not impossible. That actually might be able to happen just based on how tanky Meruem is. So basically, it's like Meruem's best chance at victory is just like survive getting brutally beaten, and then while Luffy's in his chibi form, kill him then. There is a chance Meruem is durable enough to do that. And Luffy's win condition is just wail on him. Like, you are literally thousands of times faster than him. And you're relative to him in power, so just wail on him. But yeah, so based on everything I've said, I'd say that Luffy is slightly more likely to win than Meruem is by the time you get to Enies Lobby. That would be my stance on it. They both have win conditions over each other. Luffy's is just wail on him. He is so much slower than you. He's literally like around as fast as Nami. Like, I'm sorry to say this, but like, based on like this feat here, bro, he's around as fast as Sky Pia Nami. Okay, so like, just wail on him. Like, it's pretty much, imagine Luffy fighting Nami with insane durability. Like, that's how the first round of the fight would go. I'm sorry. That's like literally how it would go. It would be like Luffy fighting Nami with insane durability, just wailing on Nami. It's terrible, but that's how Luffy versus Meruem would go until Luffy gets tired, and then Meruem's only chance would be killing Luffy in the chibi form. But if he fails at that, which is very possible, like Lucci, like the best CP9 assassin failed at that. If he fails like the way Lucci did, then Luffy's right back into base form and he can go Gear 2nd again. And he might even be able to do a second round of Gear 3 too. So, yeah, like based on that, Luffy's more likely to win. There's a real chance that Luffy would kill him in the first onslaught. Like Luffy just going base form, beats on him for a while, gets frustrated, goes Gear 2nd, beats on him, and then hits him with like 3 Gear 3 attacks. There's a chance Luffy would win right there. But if Meruem survives that, then Meruem's win condition kicks in where he could kill him while Luffy's in his chibi form. But even that might fail because Lucci failed trying to do that exact same thing. And then Luffy goes back into base form, can wail on him again, can go Gear 2nd and wail on him again. So yeah, that's pretty much how the fight goes. I'd say it's slightly more likely that Luffy would win, but you could make an argument that Meruem is durable enough to withstand that whole onslaught and then just kill him in his chibi form. Another argument you could make is maybe Meruem would be fast enough to hit Gear 3 Luffy, but I'm going to be honest, even that is heavily debatable, especially when you consider that Luffy with a, what was it? It was a, it's in the range of 75 to 120 ton gold sphere on his fist. He's still able to throw this joint so fast that a man made out of lightning considered it fast. So, like, seeing how Luffy's doing all of this, a weaker Luffy, mind you, he's doing this back in Skypiea. Gear 3 might be relative to lightning as well. It's way slower than his normal punches. His normal punches are the speed of light. But Gear 3 might be just the speed of lightning, which is 2,000 times slower. And even that is like debatable. I could see it being like 10 times slower than his normal punches. 20, even 100 times slower, I could see that. But 2,000 times slower is what would be required for it to be the speed of lightning. And even that Meruem might not be able to dodge. So, yeah, just based on feats, like, it's a humongous speed gap. And, like, they're relative in strength when Luffy's in Gear 2. So, yeah, it really becomes kind of an endurance battle. But Luffy does have, like, insane durability, insane stamina. So like, yeah, that's pretty much how I view the fight would go. Luffy is slightly more likely to win, but Meruem's win condition would be just killing Luffy while he's in his chibi form, if he survives the first initial onslaught. But what do you guys think about all that stuff? And I saw we had a few donations. Hunter Grandmaster, thank you for the donation, bro. I appreciate it. He said, Lilo woke up today and chose to slam Meruem. Dude, this was actually a video that I've had written out for a long time, but I just like didn't want to post it as an actual video. So I thought, you know what, a live stream version would be good. Big Fella Inc. donated 5. Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate that a lot. But yeah, so the next thing I was going to do, guys, is go over to a community tab poll I did on this, and look at like the top comments there. But anyone disagree with anything I said or want to debate any of the things I mentioned today? I'm going to look through the comments right now. I missed a lot of them, so I'm just going to read some. So let's see here. I see Viscar said, can you please calc post Rose Meruem traveling from the spot he fought Netero back to the palace? Oh, like him flying, like how fast that was? Yeah, I can calculate that. That'll take me a little bit. I just need to see like if there's anything in the manga that states the exact distance. And they said that he could do it in about 5 minutes. So like, if you can figure out the distance from those two locations, then you can get an idea. Well, let's keep going. But yeah, maybe I'll do that for a different stream. Jotaro said he can't. I think that's when we were talking about Uvo versus Arlong, if he could do the same things Arlong did, and you said GG Luffy wins. It's a Decade said it's a reason why he's the king. Let's keep looking. Some guys were talking about Sakamoto days. Let me see. Alex said if Luffy thinks to smother him, he's done. Let's see. I'm just looking for anyone who's asking me any questions or disagrees with anything I said. I'm just looking for those. No, I don't see any disagreements. Yeah, if you guys have any disagreements, please let me know. Oh, I see one from Anime Monarch. He said, I have an issue with you saying Gear 2 is a 5 times multiplier because Luffy was shown fighting relatively to base Lucci while in base. Luffy should be around a bit below 4,000 during Enies Lobby. Okay, that's a good point. So, like, a counter argument to that, I'd say, like, Luffy, I'd say he is closer in power to Lucci than he was to Blueno. But if you like analyze the fight closely, base Lucci had the upper hand on Luffy the entire fight. Like, matter of fact, maybe I could go and look at it. I'm a little bit worried about like copyright if I open up chapters and roll through a lot of them. But I would put it like this. Frankie, so let's go back to the power levels. This guy right here had a power level of 800. And Frankie beat this guy like medium difficulty. Frankie did. But when Frankie fought Lucci, Lucci one-shot Frankie. He hit him he did one attack. It was the finger gun, and he did it like Gatling style, and Frankie was cooked. So like the gap between Rob Lucci and a flat 800 power level, someone like him and Frankie being a little stronger, was still gigantic. Then Luffy comes in and he can box with him a little bit, but Rob Lucci is getting the upper hand in pretty much every exchange, like throwing Luffy around. Then when Luffy goes Gear 2, he's throwing base Lucci around. And then when we count in the Devil Fruit powers, Lucci's max power is likely like considerably greater than 4,000. So some translations say this 4,000 only represents like base Lucci. Some translations say this only represents his like martial arts skills, and then when you add devil fruits on top of it, he becomes like way stronger than that. So like there's a couple different ways you can scale like Luffy's power level. Like we don't actually get a number for it, right? But I would say base Luffy, he might be around like a 1,500. Maybe like a little weaker than Jabura's full power. And then when he goes Gear 2nd, he's stronger than Lucci's full power. but it's debatable. It is debatable where you could scale it. So like you could lowball Gear Second and say it's something more like, because the problem is we don't exactly know how strong Man Beast Form Lucci would be. Like Man Beast Form Lucci, for all we know, could be 6,000, something like that. Like he might be strong enough to kill everyone here, because he said he was strong enough to kill all the Straw Hats. So it's like it gets a bit debatable when you start throwing in their devil fruits. So like, for example, you could say something like maybe base form Luffy is a 2,000, and then full power Lucci with Man Beast form is a 6,000. Then Gear 2 would only be a 3 times multiplier. You could say something like that. There's a lot of different ways you can spin it. Because I was kind of just using like the lowballed numbers for everybody. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to highball Luffy as much as possible, you could say base Luffy. You could say base Luffy was just a little stronger than Bluno. And that would put base Luffy at like 900. And then you could say Rob Lucci with his Man Beast form is significantly stronger than this and is up to like a 6,000. So Luffy goes from 900 to 6,000, and then Gear 2 becomes a bigger multiplier like that. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it, but it is up for debate. So like, I had made a video on this a long time ago, and I said a like good scale for it is to say Gear 2 is in the range of 2 to 5 times. It's a 2 to 5 times multiplier. If you're using like just the lowball numbers. But that is a good point. Galgok said, I have an issue that you aren't making this a video. So, Anime Monarch said, I also think Gear 2 is only a speed boost. Luffy gets a 2 to 3 times amp in speed boost, and his power boost comes from the extra force his Gear 2 speed gives him, and Gear 3 is a power version of Gear 2. That's possible, but like there's a few other things. There's this scene where Lucci's fighting Luffy, and he's looking at him using Gear Second. And Lucci has a scene where he's like, oh, I get what you're doing. You're pushing your body beyond its limits. Like, you're pumping blood through your body, and it's pushing your strength beyond its limits. Like, I'm pretty sure he directly speaks about his strength. I want to pull it up, but I don't want to get copyright claims. Because with looking through... So, like, on my other streams, I pull up Jujutsu Kaisen panels, and we'll scroll through those. But when it comes to One Piece, those guys are, like, very... like protective, so I don't know if I'd be able to just pull it up, but like and this is the same frame, like he used the same attack that like cooked Fukuro, someone with a power level of 800. He tried to cook Rob Lucci with it, and it did nothing to him. He just stood there and tanked it. Then you see like Gear 2 Luffy punches Rob Lucci right after that and sends him flying. So it's like it's clearly increasing his strength as well. And you can also see it in the fight with Bluno. Like, let's see, where's Bluno at? Like, the fight with Bluno, he's hurting him with these normal punches. But then when he goes Gear Second, it's like changing this man's perspective on life every time he's hit. Like, it's clearly a power increase of some kind, too. Another thing is, like... Kizaru himself, like the Admiral, says that speed is power. So like if you are faster, you're stronger as well. So yeah, it's clearly like increasing his strength to some degree. At least, oh, you guys said I'm lagging? Oh no, it's lagging. That's no good. What was I saying? Is it still lagging? You said audio's glitching? Oh no, that's no good. Hopefully it okay, it's fine now. Okay, sick. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure why I did that. But yeah, so even if we wanted to say that Gear 2's not increasing his strength, there's a few things that like counteract that, like him just doing more damage to people with his attacks, him damaging people that people of like around 800 level power levels can't even hurt, but his Gear 2 punches are like cracking them and sending them flying. it's clearly increasing his power to a certain degree. Like some translations are saying it's like pushing his body beyond its limits, like his strength and his speed. But these are points that are like up for debate though. Okay, but yeah, that's my general stance on it. So now I'm going to go over to the community poll I did. You guys said you're still getting audio issues. Some it's fine and others are not. Hopefully it smooths out in the playback. But now we're doing the community poll. So, oh, and one more thing. If you guys wanted me to talk about post time skip Luffy, post time skip Luffy, it's not even a fight whatsoever. That's why I didn't even want to talk about it. It's because like once Luffy gets back from his post time skip training, like let me just explain it really quick. Like all of this stuff we've talked about was just Enies Lobby Luffy. After Enies Lobby, Luffy gets many times stronger like through the rest of pre-time skip. So he goes on and fights in Thriller Bark, gets a lot stronger from that. Then he goes to Sabaody, and gets whooped on and fights a lot of people stronger than himself, gets stronger from that. Then he goes to Amazon Lily, fights an island full of hockey users, defeats multiple hockey users without knowing what hockey is. Then he goes into Impel Down, fights hordes and hordes of enemies stronger than himself, gets a lot stronger from all of that crazy stuff. Then he goes to Marineford and is non-stop fighting people way beyond his level and gets a lot stronger from all of these crazy experiences. Then he goes into training with Rayleigh, and at the start of his training with Rayleigh, I believe Rayleigh said, right now there's 500 beasts on this island that are all stronger than you are. Luffy learns Haki and surpasses every single one of those beasts on the island. And then when we see him in post-time skip, Luffy's gotten so powerful that his Gear 2 punches are significantly stronger than what his Gear 3 punches were back in pre-time skip. Like, that's how big the power gap is. Luffy, like, once we see post-time skip Luffy, the moment he starts post-time skip, his Gear 2 punches are stronger by a lot than what his Gear 3 punches were pre-time skip. This is proven when he fights the Pacifista. So he fights a Pacifista pre-time skip, and it takes his entire crew jumping one Pacifista with Luffy using like his strongest Gear 2 attacks. Like he goes through a whole Gear 2 duration, hits him with a lot of Gear 2 attacks, it does nothing. Then he goes into Gear 3 after his whole crew like fought to the point of exhaustion, just uses one Gear 3 punch for the finishing blow on a damaged Pacifista, then he can take it out. Then we get to post-time skip, Luffy goes Gear 2nd and just one punch destroys a Pacifista. So it shows like Luffy, while holding back massively, is not only stronger than his Gear 3 from pre-time skip, he's literally stronger than his whole crew together from pre-time skip, just in Gear 2. Like casually. And he has like some precognition from Haki as well. So he's a monster. Like Gear 2 Luffy at the start of post-time skip would be a more challenging fight than Meruem fighting the entire Straw Hat crew in Sabaody. Like that's like how crazy it is. And then Luffy has Gear 3 on top of that post-time skip, which is just insane. Like Luffy's Gear 3 in Fishman Island is like relative to country level attacks, because there's this scene where the Noah is falling onto Fishman Island. Fishman Island's a country, and they say if this falls onto Fishman Island, it's going to destroy the entire country. It's like pretty much falling like a meteor would fall. And they're saying if this hits, it's going to destroy the country. Luffy, while injured, is able to destroy the entire Noah in Gear 3. Then he has Gear 4, and Gear 4's weakest attack is stronger than Gear 3's strongest attack. So it's like you're dealing with a guy who is like bare minimum multi-mountain to like small country level in Gear 3, and then he goes Gear 4 and his weakest attack is stronger than that. It's like he just starts to get way too cracked. It's not like, the honest answer is when you have post-time skip Luffy, Sabaody, the fight would go exactly how Luffy versus the Pacifista went. Like, if you want to see, like, what post-time skip Luffy versus Meruem would look like, would look like. Just look up Luffy versus Pacifista, where he just jumps in the air, hits him once, and the Pacifista explodes. That's exactly that's exactly how Luffy versus Meruem would go, like word for word exactly. Even post Rose Meruem, it would go exactly like that. Okay. Yeah. And I would also say, like, since we're talking about post Rose now, I think post Rose Meruem might be able to defeat Enies Lobby Luffy, because like he's still getting speed blitzed and slapped around the exact same way, but he would be more durable than the normal Meruem, because he would have around like twice as much aura, because he absorbed the aura from Poof and Yuppie. So he would have around twice as much aura. He's still getting absolutely obliterated the entire fight, but he would likely survive the onslaught and then kill Luffy in his chibi form. So I think like post Rose Meruem could survive the onslaught very likely and kill Luffy in his chibi form, but base Meruem might not be able to do it. It's more like a up in the air debate. But Luffy, even Enies Lobby Luffy, massively outstats post Rose Meruem too. Because post Rose Meruem, his fastest thing he ever did was his light speed N. But like that's not his attacks. His attacks are not light speed. His like N is light speed. And so that's about it. Anyways, let's look at this poll. So a lot of the poll viewers picked Meruem, but that's to be expected because like I'm a Hunter x Hunter YouTuber, so like most of my viewers don't even watch One Piece. Most of my viewers have like literally never seen One Piece anyway, so it's understandable that Meruem won the poll. So let's look through these comments. Yoni said Meruem survived a nuke. He was ripped apart and was gonna die. But how many characters can survive a point blank nuke without disintegrating instantly? That's a good point. Like Meruem is extremely durable. But the thing is, like, Luffy doesn't need to kill Meruem to beat him. He just needs to knock him out, which is definitely doable when Gear 2 Luffy's already like stronger than Prime Netero was, and he's like thousands and thousands of times faster. He's going to light Meruem up like a punching bag. This person, 09, says Luffy arguably has more chance of winning if he doesn't use Gear 3rd. Yeah, that's a pretty good point. But like Luffy's so much faster than Meruem that I genuinely think his Gear 3 would still hit Meruem anyway. This guy says Meruem mops the floor with Luffy. It's not even close. Base Luffy punches were compared to a handgun when we first met him episode 1. From episode 1 to Enies Lobby, he doesn't get much boots other than gears, but that doesn't mean crap when he won't even be able to crack Meruem's shell. So this is just like the lowest low ball possible, and it shows like he probably hasn't really read One Piece, to be honest. Comparing Luffy's punches to a pistol just because they're named pistol is pretty silly, because like we see in chapter 1, Luffy one-shot KOs a sea monster. Like like as soon as the chapter starts, this is a sea monster. These things like eat battleships. Luffy punched it one time in the head and knocked him out. Like a lot of these sea beasts can take cannonballs to the chest, something a lot stronger than a pistol, and like still be fine. Luffy punched him one time in the head and knocked him out. Anime Monarch, I read his comment a little earlier too, and it's pretty similar to the stuff I was saying. He's saying Zoro is able to dodge Kuma's light beam, which should put his reaction and attack speed at relativistic to light. Luffy's second gear is significantly faster than Zoro. Yeah, he's more or less saying similar things to what I was saying. He said, so in conclusion, Luffy is hundreds of times faster and Meruem is notably stronger. Luffy would just overwhelm Meruem with his speed and consecutive attacks like his Gatling. Yep, that's what I think too. Ahmed said, to my knowledge, Luffy's faster, but pre-time skip doesn't really scale to Raigo or other strong attacks, to my knowledge. That is debatable. Bromus, let's see. Oh, that's a very long one. Let me see the end of it. He said there really isn't much Luffy can do to damage him, not in Enies Lobby. There could be some stuff in there that makes sense. Sorry, I'm not reading all of the really long ones. I just wanted to see like the main top comments here. Yeah, a lot of people don't really know how strong Luffy is, but it's okay. Oh, someone here said Luffy genuinely blitzes in one-shots. Yeah, it's all good. A lot of people haven't really read One Piece, so I understand like why takes like that are there. Um, Someone said, wait, you said, Viscar said Goku profile pic was cooking. Where is the Goku profile pic? Oh, this is Anime Monarch. Yeah, he was saying like the similar stuff I was saying. But okay, I think that's everything I'll go over for this live stream. Um, was there anything you guys wanted me to go over before we closed out the stream? Was there anything I missed in the comment? Oh, I see Hunter Grandmaster said, I think you're commentating is just as brutal as Luffy obliterating Meruem. Jotaro said, so did Meruem teleport? No, he never teleported. He just like used his N and then just like jumped there. So he's very fast, but he's not, I would argue that he's not as fast as his N is. If he was as fast as his N was, then he would have gotten from the location like where he was revived into Post Rose Meruem to the palace. Poof said it took him about 5 minutes. If Meruem was the speed of light, like he would have gotten there in like a second. Jotaro, you said I avoided yours. Wait, was your comment here? Let me look. Oh, I see it. You said, in my opinion, Luffy wins, of course. I don't know his scaling pre-time skip, but he's immune to brunt force attacks. So what is Meruem going to do? Punch him? And he has gear 2. Nah, probably Luffy. You know what? That's another thing. So I was doing all of this with like cross-verse equalization. Like assuming that like Meruem can hurt Luffy even though he's made out of rubber. And assuming that like Luffy doesn't get Nen crushed by Nen. I did this whole video cross-verse equalization, but if they fought without cross-verse equalization, I still think it goes about the same way. Because, like, so one thing, like, with Nen crushing people, the only people we've seen get Nen crushed were, like, humans, Hunter humans. Okay, and, some Chimera ants had like a natural resistance to Nen, it seemed, because we saw Ramot, even before he learned Nen, was able to take like Gon's John Ken rock to the chest and not immediately die. Any human, even like Knuckle, would have died from that. Like Knuckle took John Ken to the stomach while using Ko. Like that's the maximum Nen defense in one spot possible, leaves the rest of your body defenseless, and he still got one shot knocked out by it. And that's like a very experienced Nen user with 5,000 Nen battles. But then you see Ramot takes rock to the chest and survives. He was still conscious too. Another thing is we see like even superhumans like Phaeton are very weak to Nen. Like just being hit by a slight bit of malicious aura from Zazon, it like nearly killed him. It did serious damage. But we don't know how, but okay, the reason I'm saying all that is it seems like if you have a slightly different like genetic makeup than normal humans, then Nen doesn't hit you as hard. Because Ramot was able to survive like Hatsu attacks, and like we don't really get an answer as to why, but one interpretation is it's because Ramot's not a human. He's a Chimera ant. So he's like part ant, part animal, and part human. He's not just human. And like when Wing is talking about Nen, he says Nen is like very strong against humans. So it could be like if you're not a normal human, then you have some deep natural defense to it. And when you look at someone like Luffy, he's literally made of rubber. Like, he's not a normal human by any means. So, like, Nen might not affect him the same way it affects normal people. He might have, like, Ramot level defense to it. Like, Ramot level immunity to it. Like, he just still gets hit by it, but it's not that crazy. And the other thing is, like, Luffy's hit harder by, like, normal people than, like, anything these Nen punches could do anyway. Like, for example, Lucci's Ro-Q gun that he did, that definitely is stronger than like most of the Nen attacks in Hunter x Hunter. And Luffy took 3 of them to the chest and stood back up. So like with or without cross-verse equalization, I think it pretty much goes the same way. But that's up for debate. But this whole live stream I was doing with cross-verse equalization. Ashura said, bro's just tough. That's true. He is tough. And you said, Ashura said he thinks it's just a defense thing. It's possible, yeah. It might just be defense. Okay, guys. I think that's everything I will go over. Oh, wait. Mr. Denz said, where do you scale current Luffy now? Well, this would get into slight manga spoilers. But Luffy is like one of the absolute strongest characters in the entire verse. He might even be top 10. But I might have to do like a top 30 One Piece, top 30 like strongest One Piece thing characters this week. Something. So now, dude, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. Oh, wait, I guess one other thing you could say is like if we didn't use cross-verse equalization, you could argue that like Meruem's punches wouldn't even hurt him because Luffy's made out of rubber. You could make that argument too, but I think it's just easier if we just say this is cross-verse equalization. Okay? And like to summarize the whole thing, I say that Luffy is slightly more likely to beat normal Meruem. Like they both have win conditions over each other, but Luffy is more likely to achieve his win conditions than Meruem is to achieve his. So I would say Enies Lobby Luffy is more likely to beat base form Meruem, but I think post-Rose Meruem would have enough durability to tank the first like onslaught from Luffy and still have enough energy left over to kill Luffy while he's in his chibi form. So I think like Enies Lobby Luffy would beat base Meruem, is slightly more likely to win, even though they both have win conditions over each other. And then I would say post-Rose Meruem would more likely beat Enies Lobby Luffy, even though they both have win conditions over each other. Then, if you go to post-time skip, Luffy literally one-taps. Even post-Rose Meruem gets speed blitzed and one-tapped. Like I said, if you want to see like what post-Rose Meruem versus post-time skip Luffy looks like, it's exactly the same as Luffy versus a pacifista. He just teleports behind him, hits him once in the head, and he explodes. So, Mr. Denz said, I meant in tiers like multi-continental or moon or planetary. Well, there are ways you can scale the attack potency of like all of the Yonko and most of like the top tier fighters to planetary. For example, Whitebeard, even while he's sick and dying, they say that his devil fruit can destroy the entire world. If you highball that, you could say that his punches have like planetary attack potency. Furthermore, the One Piece planet is a lot larger than our normal planet. Our normal planet has like only a few thousand islands on it. Meanwhile, the One Piece planet has millions of islands, and many of them are the size of countries. So like the One Piece Earth is far larger than our normal Earth. Despite this, they're saying Whitebeard might still be able to destroy it, just like with his normal attacks. And then you have tons of people like clashing with these potentially planetary attacks. Akainu clashes with them. And I think Aokiji does as well. So it's like you have like the strongest guys in the verse are relative. Like if you're highballing it, you could say the strongest guys in the verse, like Yonkos, Admirals, and Fleet Admirals, are all like planetary in attack potency, large planetary in attack potency, and then like dozens to hundreds of times faster than light. That's like how you could highball them. A low, like medium ball interpretation is that like all of the Yonkos and Admirals, like all of the Admirals and up are like multi-country level, like pretty casually. So like a low mid ball interpretation is that they're all like multi-country level. The Admirals and up are all multi-country level with like dozens to hundreds of times faster than light combat speed. And the highball interpretation is all the Admirals and up are large planetary with dozens to hundreds of times faster than light combat speed. But all right, guys, that's everything I wanted to cover today. I have to get going. But yeah, now like I finished midterms, so now I'm trying to post a lot of stuff for you guys. If you guys saw 2 days ago, I collabed with Restless Gambler. Highly recommend checking that one out, and check out Restless Gambler's channel too. The dude is making like really epic Jujutsu Kaisen content and One Piece content. Like if you like my videos, you'll also like his for sure. And me and him are working on another collab video that's going to be posted on his channel pretty soon. So I'll let you guys know when we post that. But dude, I was talking to Restless, and he was like teaching me stuff that I could do to get videos out faster. So now like my goal moving forward is like, this whole time building this channel, we've been like a monthly channel where I just post one like big video a month. And that's it. But like after talking to Restless, now I'm trying to be a weekly channel. So now I want to post like one good sized video every week and then do like a bunch of live streams, like about 4 live streams a week for you guys, and post a bunch of shorts too. So moving forward, like the goal is to be a weekly channel instead of a monthly one now. So I got to get going. I got to work on the next video, and then I have to go to class. But yeah, got a lot of stuff to do today. Jotaro said, which is it, Hunter x Hunter versus JJK? Yeah, the video we're gonna post on Restless's channel, it is Hunter x Hunter versus JJK. I don't know. Well, like a spoiler is like it's Gon and Killua versus some people in JJK. I won't say exactly who it is yet, but you'll see it on Restless's channel pretty soon. But all right, guys, thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it, you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.